Hello and welcome to episode 20 of a DM's Guide to Tomb of Annihilation. On this episode we're going to go over Area 60, Cog of Blood. And at the end of this episode we have a special giveaway to celebrate the 20th episode. Before we continue, we'll say thanks for watching. If you do like this content, remember to like and subscribe. And if you're feeling generous, I've got a Patreon link in this description below. So the Cog of Blood is very straightforward. You have 5 wardrobes. Each wardrobe allows your characters to see into the outer planes of the D&D multiverse. If they defeat all the creatures in these 5 wardrobes, they can release this gate right here, and they can make their way down this hallway to level 6, where they can finally get to the last room of the Tomb of the Nine Gods, and they could battle a Serac, and also they can finally destroy the Soulmonger and release Chalt and the remaining of Farron from the Death Curse. Before we go into more details about this room, if your characters have any more means of escaping this room, it's very, very easy. So for instance, your characters can teleport through here. If they have Misty Step, at this point your characters will be between level 10 and level 12. They have access to spells such as Dimension Door. They can bypass this room very easily. So the likelihood of your characters actually doing this puzzle in this room is quite slim. However, it's good to know about it, and also you can use this in a separate dungeon of your choice as a dungeon master. So let's jump into it. What happens in Area 60, the Cog of Blood? 5 tweak wardrobes stand against the ironclad walls of this chamber, each with a door bearing a carved image or scene. Puddles of grey slime cover parts of this floor. The room has 2 exits, including an adamantine portcullis blocking a passage to the north. Set into a metal plate above the portcullis is a row of 5 red crystals, shaped like drops of blood. So right here you have 5 red crystals, and in the room you have 5 wardrobes. Each wardrobe has its own sign or symbol, and when your characters open a wardrobe, only one can be open at one time, and creatures will emerge from this. What we're going to do, we're going to work clockwise, so we're going to work from this wardrobe right here. So the first wardrobe we'll look at is the Archaon wardrobe. And as you look at the wardrobe, you see there's a scene that depicts an army of orcs clashing with an army of hobgoblins. Dust and smoke billow from the wardrobe, and the air around you sounds out with the roar of battle. Beyond the doors, armies fight under a blood-red sky that has an iron cube floating in it like a huge distant moon. Clouds of ash suddenly fly out of the wardrobe, transforming into screaming orcs before your eyes. So before we go any further with these wardrobes, the main thing you need to realise is this is a one-way gate to the plane of Archaon, which means your characters can't go through this, but they do get a glimpse of other planes, and there's a much bigger world out there. So what do you need to know about Archaon then? Well, your characters realistically will get a glimpse, but if they do an Arcana check or a History check to figure out more about this plane, all you really need to know is that Archaon has 4 layers made of enormous iron cubes floating in an airy void. And sometimes these cubes collide, and when they do collide, echoes of these past collisions linger throughout the plane. The nature of Archaon is strife and war, as the spirits of fallen soldiers join endless battles against each other. So orcs will fight goblinoids. This plane awards creatures from harming other creatures by imbuing the creatures with the strength to keep on fighting. And they're now going to be attacked by an orc war chief and 7 orcs. When your characters defeat these characters, the wardrobe will disappear, and one of these crystals above the portcullis will light up. So let's look at orcs and see how difficult an orc war chief and 7 orcs will be. With orcs, they're a pretty standard D&D monster to fight. The orc war chief is only challenge 4, which means your characters should find this very, very easy. The main thing you need to realise is your characters have to open up 5 wardrobes. So this is a battle of fruition, and your characters will try to not spend supplies here, because the more resources they use in other parts of the tomb will make it harder and harder. So the Orc War Chief has armor class of 16, which is standard, walk speed of 30, has 93 hit points, which is quite high. It has skills of intimidation, however your characters are high enough level, this won't really matter that much. It has a high strength and a high con, everything else is quite low. The Orc will use hand-to-hand combat when necessary. Because it's getting hand-to-hand combat, it's going to use its Great Axe, due to the fact that a D12 is bigger than a D8. And it's going to do 2 Great Axe attacks, which will be 1d12 plus 4, and it's going to have another plus 1d8 slashing damage. This is due to Grumman's Fury. Because you are coming in with a group of orcs, it will use its battle cry on its first turn, which means that each creature on the War Chief's choice within 30 feet, which means that it'll cover the entirety of this room, so you don't have to worry about that. I can hear it, are not already affected by a battle cry, again advantage on attack rolls until the start of the War Chief's next turn. The War Chief can then make one attack as a bonus action. So in your first turn, your War Chief is going to come in, it's going to do Battle Cry, which means that the 7 orcs will all have advantage on their attacks, and then he will do an attack with his Great Axe as a bonus action. And because the room is very, very small, it doesn't need to use this aggressive feature. Now let's look at the Orc. So the Orc is much more basic. It has very low hit points of 15, it has a low armor class, and this will be used as fodder. This will simply be used to take your character's actions. And it does have one attack per turn, which will use its Great Axe, and that will do a 1d12 plus 3 slashing damage. So as a DM, what I'll do is as soon as the character opens this wardrobe, I would get everyone to roll initiative and everyone will battle at the same time. I'll keep the Orc War Chief in the back, and then these 7 orcs will swarm the characters. And because they've came out of this wardrobe, I'm going to make the assumption they aren't too intelligent. They're just going to attack the first thing they see. So they're not going to be mean and attack casters first. Because they're experienced in battle, they're going to swarm your characters, try to surround and get as many attacks on one character at a time. And when they're defeated, their bodies, armor, and weapons will remain in this chamber when they die. One of the things you need to watch out for is your characters might try to have a short rest after these encounters. If that happens, and Wellers is still alive, he'll make it very, very difficult for them. However, your characters could potentially short rest after each of these, but do watch out as there are other creatures in the tomb that might come in. So you might do an encounter with the Night Hags. You could do a flesh golem if Wellers is still alive. Just things to keep watch out for, because if your characters have too many short rests and too many long rests, it'll make this encounter very, very easy. So let's see your characters have defeated everyone in the first wardrobe. Let's look at the next wardrobe. The Gehenna wardrobe. This door depicts a grinning night hag with a swaddled human infant in his arms. When you open this wardrobe, your characters will see this. The door opens above a caldera of an active volcano. Shards of black rock float above the molten magma. Perched atop one shard are 2 man-sized creatures with insectoid features and 4 arms apiece. And what comes out of the wardrobe is a Mesoloth. So what is the plane of Gehenna? So Gehenna is the plane of suspicion and greed, and it's the birthplace of Yugoloths, and they dwell here in massive numbers, as in Yugoloths have a structure, and there's different tiers. Gehenna has 4 layers, and a volcanic mountain dominates each of the 4 layers of Gehenna. The lesser volcanic earthbergs drift in the air and smash into the greater mountains. And the main thing about Gehenna is that it has no room for mercy or compassion. The fiends living here are among the greediest and most selfish in the multiverse. So as I said before, Yugoloths have a hierarchy, so there's different levels. What we're going to look at is the Mesoloth. So the bulk of the Yugoloth population is made up of Mesoloths. They're human-sized insect creatures covered in dense chitinous plates, and they serve as foot soldiers in the Yugoloth armies. So in combat, it's really straightforward. They have quite a high armor class of 18. They're roughly the same size as a man. They're approximately 7 feet to 8 feet tall. They have 4 arms and they hold a trident. High hit points of 75, they're quite fast at 40 feet movement speed. They have high strength, high con. They're immune to acid and poison damage. They're resistant to cold, fire, and lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. They have telepathy, and they can cast spells. So they can cast Darkness, Dispel Magic, and Cloud Kill. Its innate spell casting ability is Charisma, spell save of living, which is very low, and its weapons attacks are magical. So you have the 2 Mesoloths that come out of the wardrobe. What will they do in combat? I'll get one to cast Cloud Kill. Cloud Kill is a nasty, nasty spell. It lasts for 10 minutes with the creature concentrating on it, and it will fill up the room with a thick fog. When a creature enters the spell's area for the first time on a turn, or starts its turn here, the creature must succeed in a constitution saving throw. The creature takes 5d8 poison damage in a failed save, or half as much in a successful one. And your creatures are affected even if they hold their breath. And due to the size of the room being very, very small, so about 20 feet sphere, so it will cover the majority of this room. So as one Mesoloth does that in its first turn, other one is going to attack. So it's going to do 2 attacks, one with its claws and one with its trident. So it's a 7 to hit, it does 2d4 plus 4, not too much damage. So with its trident, it'll do 1d8 piercing damage when it's held with 2 claws and used to make a melee attack. Because the Mesoloth has 4 arms, it'll have its claws at the top for the first attack, and then it will use its other 2 arms to use the trident for the second attack. It's a teleport ability, but realistically, it won't use this unless your character's trying to flee this room. Due to the fact that it's 2 creatures, your characters should be able to defeat these creatures in 2 or 3 rounds, but it can be a very, very dangerous encounter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the 3rd wardrobe. We're going to look at the Mechanist wardrobe. This door is carved to depict the face of an ornate clock, and when your characters open the door, they'll see this. Enormous interlocking gears and cogs stretch as far as you can see. Suddenly, a spherical construct with spindly legs and small wings tumbles through the open doorway. and your characters are met with a monodrone. With Mechanus, the plane is all about order and law, and it's reflected in a realm of clockwork gears all interlocked and turning accordingly to their measure. The main thing about Mechanus is it embodies absolute order. Modrons are the primary inhabitants of Mechanus. The plane is also home to the creator of the Modrons, a godlike being known as Primus. Due to the fact that this plane is all about law and order, if your characters do end up here at some point, random chance is not a thing. So if you're doing rolls to attack such as the D10, you'd always take the average roll in Mechanus. So a monodrone is very, very simple. A monodrone can perform one simple task at a time, and all it can do is relay a single message up to 48 words. So the thing that's very interested here is the monodrone has low hit points, low AC, and it's only going to attack in self-defense. It has true sight so it can see everything, and the monodrone can't be compelled to act in a manner contrary to its nature or its instructions. And all it's got is it's got a dagger and it's got a javelin, and if it does attack, it'll use a javelin because it does more damage, which is 1d6. When the monodrone comes out the wardrobe, it's not going to attack your players right away. It's just going to try to get itself back into that wardrobe, and it's only going to attack in self-defense. It's also probably not going to follow your characters anywhere because it won't have much interest in them because it's not following its instructions, its commands. However, if your characters do attack it, it will attack in self-defense. But when it is destroyed, it will disintegrate. So we're now going to look at the fourth wardrobe, and this wardrobe is of the 9 Hells. The scene in this door depicts twisted, screaming humanoid faces wrapped in chains. When your characters open this door, waves of heat assail you as the door opens, revealing an iron road leading to a basalt cathedral surrounded by the charred remains of defeated armies. Prisoners scream from iron giblets that festoon the cathedral walls. Suddenly, a single glowing ember flies out of the wardrobe and transforms into a winged, bony fiend with a smiling skull-like visage. Your characters are now going to be attacked by a bone devil. So what do you need to know about the 9 Hells before this bone devil attacks? Well, 9 Hells have 9 layers. It is the ultimate plane of law and evil and is the epitome of premeditated cruelty. The devils of the 9 Hells are bound to obey the laws of their superiors. At the very top of this hierarchy of devils is Asmodeus, who has yet to be bested. If he were to be vanquished, the victor would rule the plane in return. And that is the law of the 9 Hells. So the Bone Devil is going to attack right away, and what is this Bone Devil going to do? Well, the Bone Devil is a large fiend. It has an armor class of 19, which is very high. It can fly 40 feet, and it can walk 40 feet. It has a high number of hit points of 142. It's resistant to cold, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks. It's immune to fire and poison, and it's also telepathic. Its skills are Deception and Insight, which we won't be using much of. It's simply going to try to kill your players. It's resistant to magic, which means the devil has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects, and magical darkness has no effect on the devil's night vision. So it's going to attack your players, and if I was playing this devil, it's going to attack one person at a time. So it's going to make 3 attacks, 2 with its claws and 1 with its sting. So the claw attack is reach of 10 feet. So it'll stay out of range of your character's 5 feet melee if it uses a sword or doesn't have a long weapon. It's going to do 1d8 plus 4 slashing damage, and the sting 8 to hit, and it's going to take 2d8 plus 4 piercing damage. Plus it's going to do 5d6 poison damage, and your character must succeed in a DC 14 Constitution saving throw or become poisoned for 1 minute. The sting is the nastiest part here, as in your characters will take a large amount of damage. So this has the potential of killing a character in 2 or 3 turns, especially if your characters have been fighting wardrobe after wardrobe. When your character's killed this Bone Devil, when it dies, its body will transform into a pool of stinking ichor. So on to the final wardrobe, we're now going to look at the Shadowfell wardrobe. The scene in this door depicts ghouls gnawing on bones. When your characters open this door, they'll see this. You gaze out across an ancient cemetery. Its canted tombstones shrouded in fog. Eerie, hungry shapes move along the graves in the distance. Suddenly, a bright, glowing ball of light appears in the room behind you. As you open this door, 4 will-o-wisps are summoned. And when they're destroyed, nothing has remained. So what is the Shadowfell then? What are we seeing in this wardrobe? The Shadowfell is also called the Plane of Shadow, and it's simply a dimension of black, grey and white where most of the colour has been leached from everything. It hates light, The sky is black, and it's just a very, very depressing place. The Shadowfell overlaps the material plane in much the same way as the Feywild, and in this plane, shadow dragons, undead creatures, and creatures that love doom and gloom thrive in this plane. Due to the close proximity of the Shadowfell to the material plane, it can be crossed over from the material plane, meaning that characters can visit this plane quite easily. If you play a number of adventures such as Curse of Strahd, you notice that Barovia, the plane that's depicted in that book, is within the Shadowfell. So let's look at these Will-O-Wisps and what these Will-O-Wisps are going to do. You look at their stat block, you notice that they have low hit points 22, armor class of 19, challenge rating of 2, but are they really dangerous? Well, they're immune to lightning and poison, they're resistant to acid, cold, fire, necrotic, thunder damage, and they're resistant from non-magical attacks from bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. And they have an ability in their bonus action called Consume Life. The Will-O-Wisp can target one creature that stays within 5 feet of it that has 0 hit points and is still alive. And your character must succeed a DC 10 Constitution saving throw against this magic, or you simply die. And the Will-O-Wisp regains 10 hit points. And after all the battles, if you have an unconscious character on the floor, this can definitely kill them. However, I do think this will be a very rare chance and it won't likely happen. If your character's not unconscious, what they'll do is they'll attack it with their shock ability. And it'll just be a +4 to hit, and it'll do 2d8 lightning damage. So 4 Will-O-Wisps will be spawned, they're all invisible. Unless your characters can see invisible creatures, they won't be detected. And they'll all make their attacks with advantage because they're visible. So if no one's knocked unconscious, which in likelihood won't happen because you can only open a wardrobe once all the creatures have been defeated from the previous one, I would get the Will-O-Wisps to target one creature and they would all do a shock attack on them. And due to the low hit points and your characters are quite high level, you should be able to deal with Will-O-Wisps very, very easily. So that is the last wardrobe, and that's the end of the episode. So I've got to say thank you very much for watching. And how do your characters get on with this room? Did you even get to it? And was there any deaths in this room? Because it's a long combat. So before we finish it, just so we remember, this room can easily be skipped. A tiny creature or magic can be used to slip through this portcullis. And yeah, just remember to make sure that your characters don't take long rests or short rests, make it a bit harder. Quick announcement. Since this is my 20th episode, I've got to say a massive thank you to my patrons and for you watching, as in I wouldn't be here without your support. And because it's the 20th episode, I want to give a quick giveaway. I want to give away the module Curse of Strahd on Roll20. If you want to win this module, it's very, very easy. All you need to do is like and subscribe and place in a comment below what's your favourite moment in D&D that's horror focused. Like, did you attack a party member? As a DM, did you attack your party with a unique monster? Or your player that just survived a very, very terrifying encounter? And again, guys, if you do enjoy this content, remember to like and subscribe. If you're feeling generous, the Patreon link below. And in the next episode, we're going to go down this hallway here. 68 Hall of Decay, 69 Mechanist Chain, and we'll finish the next episode with our Armillary Sphere. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.